we are going to be looking at the statement, "We mourned to you." And this comes from Matthew chapter 11, beginning in verse 16, going to verse 19. And Jesus describes the generation that they are witnessing there in Israel in the first century while he is here on this earth. And he says this, "But what shall I liken this generation?" He's not describing just one person or a group of people or like a sect, some sect of the Jews. He's talking about a generation. "What shall I liken this generation? It is like children sitting in the marketplaces and calling to their companions." So he is really, this is a parable, is what this is. Very quick one, but yeah, there are some quick parables. But he makes this comparison. What is this generation like? It's like a bunch of kids. And they're calling to their companions and saying, "We played the flute for you, and you did not dance. We mourned to you, and you did not lament." Then he says this, "For John came neither eating nor drinking, and they say, 'He has a demon.' The Son of Man came eating and drinking, and they say, 'Look, a glutton and a winebibber, a friend of tax collectors and sinners, but wisdom is justified by her children.'" This is, and what, let's just go back. What did they say concerning John? Was John a prophet of God? Yes, he was a prophet of God. And he came neither eating nor drinking. So what does that mean? That means he was a very rugged man. He did live in rugged areas. You didn't exactly see him visiting the wealthy or being invited to great feasts or anything like that. He's eating some rather rustic things, we will just say. And he's in very coarse sort of clothing, just the clothing of poverty, really. Neither came eating or drinking, and aside from all that, he would fast. And he's not one that's around any sort of feasts. And they say he has a demon. Now, why would that be? Well, he's not eating or drinking. Why would you come to that conclusion? Well, here is Jesus. The Son of Man came eating and drinking, and they say, "Look, a glutton and a winebibber, a friend of tax collectors and sinners." And he says this once again, "But wisdom is justified by her children." Now they can go to Proverbs 23 and verse 20 of, "Do not mix with winebibbers or gluttonous eaters of meat." Now that's really where they're getting this of glutton and a winebibber, because Jesus was not like John the Baptist. A prophet, more than a prophet. But he wasn't living off out in the wilderness. Now he was, on occasion, 40 days and 40 nights. He is fasting in the wilderness. I guess they didn't witness that, and of course they didn't. But they see that he's doing things that John didn't do, and they say, yeah, he's just this glutton and a winebibber. Okay, so we're going to look at this bit by bit. "We played the flute for you, and you did not dance." This is like children calling to their companions. They're in the marketplace, and this is what we did, but you didn't respond to it. So this is basically how he's describing this generation of, you must follow our direction and our expectation. You must do that. It is how what we say. If we say jump, you must be jumping. If we, by our direction, by our expectation, this is what you must be. All right, and we can look at John 7 and verse 48 of where have any of the rulers of the Pharisees believed in him? And they're talking about Christ. Have any of the rulers of the Pharisees believed in him? Well, what does that matter? Or what does that matter? It doesn't matter in the least if the rulers of the Pharisees believed him or not. They can believe in something and it not be true, or they could disbelieve something and it is true. Well, in this case, it's the latter. He is the Christ, but they don't believe him. And Christ must follow their direction. He must be, if he wants their loyalty, he's going to have to be the way they define it. He's going to have to be the one they want him to be. Because it's their expectation, what they thought concerning the Christ. All right, in essence, they're saying, we set the stage, we determine what is true, and everyone's faith. That's what we do. And we can look at Matthew 23 and 13, talking about the scribes and the Pharisees, that they shut up the kingdom of heaven. They won't go in, neither will they allow anyone else to go in. They're like the gatekeeper. They determine who goes in and who doesn't go in. They determine faith. Well, how did they get that position? They just made it for themselves, because there is no such position. Nobody has that. It is only Christ who, if there's a gatekeeper, and there is, it's going to be Christ who's doing this. All right? They're saying, we're the ones that have the expectations. We're the ones that set the stage. We are the ones that must be pleased. You must meet every expectation. They wanted to make him king, and he refused to be king in the way they would define king. All right, he's going to become king. We can know that from Psalm chapter 2 and other places, plenty of other places. We can know he's going to be king. Now, our idea of righteousness must be the one that's followed. We validate prophets, and you're not from God unless we say. That is precisely what they're saying. They're saying, John, he has a demon. Jesus of Nazareth, he's a glutton and a wine-bibber. Well, okay, you're saying one thing because he didn't really go to anyone's house that you would know about. He wasn't invited anywhere. He didn't really make himself socially known going from city to city. Whereas Jesus does the opposite, and he is doing all those things. And then John has a demon, but Jesus of Nazareth, well, he's just a wine-bibber. And might I say now that Jesus is not going to do anything that is against God's will. He's not going to do the first thing. Just because he's around tax collectors does not make him a tax collector. Just because he's around sinners does not make him a sinner. Just because he's around people that might be gluttonous or might be wine-bibbers does not mean he's either one of those. And it could be that he wasn't around anything like that. They just make it up. Like they make up the fact, like they make up that John has a demon. Now, Matthew 23 and 4 speaks of the scribes and Pharisees again, of that they bind heavy burdens. They're not going to lift them, but they'll make you lift them. We have our idea of righteousness, and that's what must be followed. If they're going to be the gatekeepers, if they're going to be the standard, if they're going to be the ones that are just able to make things up, what righteousness is, then yeah, this is what they do. They're going to create these heavy burdens. They're going to bind heavy things, and they themselves are exempt from it. They're not about to do it. But you better. They're not going to do it at all. And here we go, always looking for fault. Always. This is what they do. Matthew 12 and 24, Jesus has cast out a demon. Blind and mute man. Well, because of the demon, he was blind and mute. Jesus casts out that demon, and now the man is completely free of that. He can see, he can speak. No one there would have said nothing happened because they knew something did happen. They would be seen as silly if they said nothing happened. But they would rather be seen as silly. They would much rather be seen as silly than to be seen as someone following Christ. They will choose that. They'll always choose anything but Christ. They will do this. But instead, what they do is they're going to reassign how he did it. Instead of it being by the power of God, proving that he must be from God and that his message must be from God, they go the opposite direction. They are in fact calling what is good evil. They're calling what is light darkness and what is sweet bitter. They've changed it up. They now are saying he doesn't cast out demons, but by the power of Beelzebub, the prince of demons, the leader of demons. And of course what they mean by that, they're using that name. Christ actually uses the name Satan. After he goes to talk about if Satan casts out Satan. They're using that name. That name comes out of the Old Testament. It was an idol that was being worshipped in the Old Testament. And it literally does mean Lord of the Flies, is what that means. But what they meant by it was, in fact, Satan, that the power of miracles that Jesus is performing is by Satan or Beelzebub. Okay? And with that, he can't be from God. He's from Satan. First off, when did Satan benefit anybody? When did that happen? Because he doesn't. He never benefits anyone. When did Satan do anything good? But what Jesus says is, if Satan is casting out Satan, then his house is divided. He's fighting himself. He's fighting his own purposes, going in counter purposes with his own agenda, with his own goals. His kingdom, his house is going to fall. It's going to fall. But Jesus is not using the power of Satan at all. He's casting out Satan, and he does make a comparison between this and someone who's going to rob a house, the house of a strong man. First, you're going to have to bind the man, then you loot the place. But you have to bind the man first. And what he meant by that is he has bound Satan. Satan is powerless against Christ. And Satan has no power to defeat Christ, nor does any demon or unclean spirit or devil in any way have any kind of supremacy or any kind of advantage over Christ. None of them. And whenever Jesus is around demons, of someone who is demon-possessed, often they identify him immediately and plead, "Did you come here to torment us before the time? Did you do this? Do not cast us into the abyss," says Legion. Don't do, because they know he has power over them. But here is this generation, they're just looking for fault. That's all they're doing. Now, do we live in a different sort we have a different generation, that's for sure. We are quite a number of generations from the first century. Have things changed very much? They have not. No, we have people that are always finding fault with Christ, finding fault with the Bible, always making what is light into darkness, and making what is good evil. And you do that, you're also making what is evil good. Now, we continue on. Their thinking in this is our theology, our thoughts, our assumptions are always correct. You will agree or we will destroy you, which is what they did. Now, they killed him. They didn't destroy him. There is a difference in that. They did kill him. He's put in a tomb. He's there Friday afternoon, he's dead. Sunday morning, he's back. And exactly as he described. Now, in Luke 4:28 and 29, Jesus has returned to Nazareth, and they were going to kill him. He's one of their own. They saw him grow up. Whether they were children when he was a child or they were adults when he was a child, they saw him grow up there, and they knew his brothers, they knew his sister, they knew his mother. They knew him, but not as the Son of God. They didn't know him as that. But now he's come back. He reads from the book of Isaiah and says, this is fulfilled in your hearing. And he begins to speak by gracious words. And even they are taken by the power of his words. Even they are taken, but it doesn't matter. Our theology, our thoughts, our assumptions are correct. What were their thoughts? This is the Son of Mary. This is one of us from Nazareth. His father was a carpenter. He too is a carpenter. And here he comes reading Isaiah in the synagogue and saying it's being fulfilled in our hearing. Okay, so they're going to go and try to kill him. But it's not his time at that point, and being stoned to death or cast off a cliff is not the way he was supposed to die. So they are unable to do that at all. Now, we come back to Matthew 11, verse 17. We mourned to you, and you did not lament. See, it's once again of if we say jump, you jump. It's like the Simon Says game. Whatever I say, that's what you immediately do. And we mourned to you. We played the flute. You didn't dance. We mourned to you. You didn't lament. What is wrong with you is the idea of we set the mood and judge accordingly. Whatever we say you're supposed to be doing, that's what you do. Whatever we assume you're supposed to be doing, that's what you do. John 12:42, even among the rulers, many believed. But they are not going to confess him because they were very much afraid of the Pharisees. They were not going to confess him. We set the mood and we judge accordingly, and they will judge Jesus and anyone that's going to have the appearance of following Jesus. They're going to shut that down. Shut it down entirely. Here we go. We find fault, and they'll never be satisfied with Christ. Never. And we come down to anyone but Christ. Matthew 27, verse 21, of where they gladly choose Barabbas. I can't think of a greater contrast. What did Barabbas do that was beneficial? Nothing. Barabbas was a murderer. Barabbas was part of some kind of rebellion. He was in prison for a very good reason. Who did Jesus kill? Nobody. He killed no one. What benefit did Jesus do? Well, he healed the sick, the lame are walking, the blind now see. Barabbas do any of those things? No, he couldn't. He did none of those things. You have people now who are hearing words from Christ, who are hearing concerning the very thing they've been hoping for, which is that kingdom of heaven. They have been hearing that. That's been written about for centuries by the prophets, and now it's coming to pass. Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. That is quite a statement, because that's what they've been waiting on. They've been waiting on that and the Messiah, and they are getting them both in their lifetime. But they would rather choose Barabbas than Christ, because Christ doesn't fit what they want. It's like he has to apply for the job, and they're the HR department that determines what the Christ is supposed to look like. Well, I think the Father and the entire Godhead has determined what the Christ is supposed to be going back in eternity. Far beyond our imaginings. And they choose Barabbas. They would rather have, put Barabbas back on the streets. We don't want Jesus of Nazareth. Put Barabbas, Barabbas, is he going to kill again? I don't know. Probably. You're just letting a man out, is what you're doing. He murdered before. Will he do it again? Very possibly. I don't know. You must please us, but don't expect us to actually be pleased. All right. You please us. Now this is the essence of a spoiled child. The essence of the spoiled child. What have you done for me lately? And that it's never good enough. Never. Wanting something incredible, and if it's not done on time, if it's not done as specified, if it's not done at all, then we are greatly displeased. But God does not perform like some kind of trained dog, some performing dog. He does not. John 6:30, what sign will you perform? What sign will you perform? This is John 6. He's already fed thousands in the wilderness. What do you were you oblivious to that? Where did that food come from? Because everyone is out in the wilderness. You have thousands that are out there, and if they're going to eat, they can't. There's nothing there for them to eat. But somehow they all eat to the full. Somehow they all have fish and bread, and they're all full. Where did that come from? And now you're asking for a sign. What do you think you just got? What did you just witness in all this? It's as though it didn't matter. They can't be pleased. You feed thousands in the middle of nowhere, and it's like it never happened at all. And he begins speaking to them, and they go away. They don't want to be around him anymore. They don't like what he is saying. What sign will you perform? He's been doing it. Where have you been? Why hasn't this registered with you yet? What he did. And I tell you what, that's a big problem for some folks. It just doesn't register. It doesn't seem to sink in. Don't be dense. Look around you. God is doing extraordinary things for you. Maybe it's not what you want, but I've come to understand there are things that I wanted in the past I didn't get, and now I'm thankful I didn't get them. Very thankful. I may have told you this story before. I knew a young man. He believed himself, and I'm not making this up, he believed himself to be so righteous, like there was nobody else around as righteous as he was. He believed himself to be so righteous that God should give him whatever he wanted. And he wanted a specific girl to be his girlfriend. Did she have no say? All right, God did not give her to him, and he became not angry at her or disappointed in her or thinking, what do I need to do? He was angry at God. Why didn't God give her to me? One, does she not have a say in this? Does this have to be some sort of miraculous thing? Does she not have a say? Maybe there are things you don't know, and it's better for the two of you if y'all stay apart. Maybe it's better that way. Do you not see that God is going to give you the things that you need, and He's not just going to push any destructive thing in front of you? He's not going to do it. What sign will you perform? Well, obviously they weren't pleased with, or it just didn't register, what he had already done. The Son of Man, we looking at this again, the Son of Man came eating and drinking, and they say, look, a glutton and a winebibber, a friend of tax collectors and sinners. They're just listing things, and none of it, a glutton and a winebibber, that's simply not true. A friend of tax collectors and sinners, what's he supposed to be? Let's just ask that question. What's he supposed to be? Was he supposed to come and destroy them? Because that's not his purpose on this earth. His purpose on this earth was not to just go around and destroy everybody who happens to be a tax collector or a sinner as defined by the Pharisees or the rulers. That wasn't what he's supposed to be doing. A physician comes for the sick, and that's exactly what he's doing. He's helping people. He's not keeping them in their sins. He is helping them. He is salvation for everyone, including the tax collectors and the sinners. And we come to these words, but wisdom is justified by her children. What does that mean? Because he's been talking about children. He's been talking about that. You have the children that are in the marketplace. Wisdom is justified by her children. That would be the results. That'd be you could think of it as the fruit of wisdom. That whatever the decision was, the fruit of that shows whether it was wise or foolish. It shows that its result or the outcome, the effect, the product, wisdom is going to be seen by what it produces. Now, we can show this in one verse. As a matter of fact, by way of example, woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you travel land and sea to win one proselyte, and when he is won, you make him twice as much a son of hell as yourselves. Meaning, they are a son of hell. And he's talking to the scribes and the Pharisees. They're already a son of hell. And that their doctrine, wisdom is justified by her children, or what was the children of this wisdom? You make proselytes twice as much, twice as bad as you are. That's because, why would that be? Because they're following the implication of this doctrine of the scribes and the Pharisees. The doctrine of the scribes and the Pharisees made children of hell. Children bound for hell. That's what they didn't see it that way. They most certainly didn't see it that way. They saw themselves as being overwhelmingly righteous, but that's their estimation, not God's judgment. Wisdom is justified by her children. Well, what children are made here? Twice the sons of hell. This is Jesus describing that generation. Does this also describe a generation today? Yeah, it does. It does. I don't know how many times I have heard in my lifetime of someone wanting to justify some kind of wickedness by throwing Christ into it. But he's completely against that. And I don't know how many times in my life I have seen someone trying to destroy the Bible and destroy Christ by some wickedness they are wanting to do. I can't tell you how many times. We all see it. We see it all the time. Things haven't changed. They haven't changed. We continue to see the same sort, the same attitude, the same heart in this generation as was in these past generations. What do? Make sure that we follow Christ. Not looking to use Him in some evil sort of way, justify something we're doing, or to throw Him aside because that we want something else, but to follow Him because He is showing us the way to heaven. There's only one way, and He's it. It's like we read just this morning, to whom shall we go? You have the words of life. And it's true. He did. And He still does. This evening, if you need to respond to the invitation, judgment will be here, and our lives will be put on trial by Christ himself, the Son of God. Are you ready? We need to make adjustments. We need to grow in knowledge, grow in all that is good. If you need to respond to the invitation, we ask that you come as we stand and sing.